All right, I think we got everyone just filing in here. Welcome to the Mixology room, everyone. My name is Adam Jashik, and I am the events manager for the Midwest region for the foundation. I'm coming to you live from St. Louis. Just wanted to welcome everyone here and let everybody get settled. We're here in the Mixology room. We're going to have a great time with Chef Mike Betts. Just so everyone knows, closed captioning is activated in this room. If you're not familiar with Zoom shortcuts, I'll be sending those in the chat so you can utilize those. Ask that you all just stay muted during the presentation, and you can chime in, ask some questions. And
are we
of course,
automatically muted?
You can access the auction while this room's going on. That link is still live. But at this time, I'm gonna just let you know that I'm available for questions. I'll be here.
This is Mixology.
I'm going to introduce Emily Berg, our esteemed Hope from Home committee member. And Emily, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you, Adam. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Emily. I am the representative from the Hope from Home Events Committee. Really happy to be here with you tonight. This is my second
Can't hear. I have something in my ear. I'm listening to this thing for the event.
Second year on the events committee, and actually second year hosting the alcohol themed room. So really excited to be a part of the party home.
How do I get sound to play?
Thrilled to be able to support the foundation. My grandmother and her sisters both had macular degeneration. So I'm really glad to have the opportunity to support the foundation and all of its work. But of course, that it has a special place in my heart for the work it's doing for macular degeneration. I'm going to hand it over to Jackie, who's going to get to the fun part of the cocktails. Thank you again so much for being here tonight in support of foundation and the event. Jackie, over to you.
Thank you, Emily, and big thank you to the foundation for welcoming sous chef here tonight. It is really a privilege for us to be a part of this experience. My name is Jackie Selby, and I am the founder of Sous Chef, and began Sous Chef with the notion that immersive shared experiences help to bring us together. And there's no better way than sharing a meal or a cocktail together to gather around and to do so. And so with that being said, tonight's mixology room is meant to be interactive. We want you to turn on your cameras, make the cocktails along with us. Feel free to interject with questions, whether it's about any of the cocktails that we're making tonight, or just in general about mixology, the spirits that we're using, or anything else you might be curious about. And so it is a pleasure for me to, as Emily said, turn this over to Chef Mike Betts, who has over 20 years of experience, both with private chef work as well as in restaurants, and certainly his passion for the culinary arts extends to the art of cocktail making. So we are excited tonight to share with you two of his own creations, and we hope you enjoy them. So thank you all for being here, and Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jackie. Thanks everybody from the foundation. I really appreciate you having me here. And Jackie and I have worked together doing mostly cooking classes, but we're quickly gaining on the cocktail classes too. So I'm glad you're here, and I don't want to go too quick for anybody. So if there's something that you would like to ask, please go ahead and ask any of us here. We'll slow down and make sure you see what we're doing here. We have a couple cocktails tonight. We're going to focus on one that is a favorite of mine, and it's one that is based off of one of my favorite French words. I just think it's kind of a fun word to say, so I named the cocktail after it. I try to keep it real whimsical and fun for everybody. So this one is called Pamplemoose. Hopefully no one speaks French very well, or I'll be exposed of how I speak in the French language. But this one is sort of a play on, or at least an homage to, the category of tiki. So you probably have had a cocktail that might resemble tiki, or people will say is tiki, and it's very wide. I think in general, when you hear the word tiki, it probably is a cocktail that's built around some sort of rum. There's a lot of other things that are correlated with that. I find that a couple of the ingredients here that we're going to work with tonight are also very common in a tiki cocktail. Lime juice is often used. You don't have to have these, but these are very commonly found. So lime juice, we're going to work with that. And also a simple syrup that is, for us tonight, is steeped in cinnamon, cinnamon sticks. If you're playing along with us, I'm sure you've seen the papers that instructed you how to do that in advance. And if you did that, you might find that the recipe gave you a little bit more than you need, or a lot more than you need. But the idea is to put it in a little container like this and maybe keep it in the fridge, and you might be encouraged to make another cocktail using that. So if you're going to go through the motions, you may as well try it again. So that cinnamon syrup, simple syrup, and the lime juice and the rum, that to me sounds like a tiki cocktail. So I use those items. I'm going to go down the list just so everyone understands all the ingredients, so you have them in front of you. If you haven't already, you can gather things you'll need. So make sure you have some ice on hand. I'm going to use a cocktail shaker. I'll show you what I'm using. You can shake this like what we're going to do, something simple like that. You can stir it too. I just kind of like shaking. So there's no rules, but this is how we're going to do it. So in your cocktail shaker, we'll use all these ingredients. I'll just go right through it so you can be caught up with us. We're going to use an ounce of a Jamaican rum. One of my favorites I'll show you is this Appleton Estate. This one's a 12-year, doesn't have to be the aged 12-year, but I like this Appleton Estate. It's a very authentic Jamaican rum, and I think it gets a lot of its interesting qualities that the way it's made, it's filtered through limestone. It's a natural filtering process, which is kind of a cool little tidbit about it. It's also aged, proprietary different amounts for different years that they sell. And then they also have a proprietary yeast that is made from sugarcane in the process. And all those, I think, give it a very unique flavor in this rum. So we're going to use 1 ounce of that one. We're going to use gin as well. So 1 ounce of the rum, 3/4 of an ounce of gin. And we're going to make that even 1 and 1, 1 ounce and 1 ounce, by putting a little bit of lime juice on top of the gin. So then that's 2 ounces total. Then we're going to go from there. Since it's called Pamplemoose, we need some grapefruit juice. So about 3/4 of an ounce of that, and a little bit of cinnamon syrup. I think we wrote down about a 1/2 ounce. And I like to make this cocktail with an egg white. If you're not comfortable with that, play along without the egg white, that's fine. I just find if you add the egg white at the end of the cocktail when we're building it in our shaker and you give it a good shake, I think it gives a very interesting texture to the cocktail, which I think is important. So I'm going to start building this and walk you through exactly what we did in the ingredient list. So I like to start with about 4 or 5 for a shaker of this size, 4 or 5 cubes. And start with our rum here, an ounce of the Appleton. You can use any kind of measuring utensil that you want to use. These are jiggers, one side 1 ounce, the other one 2 ounce. I'm going to work with that. They also have some, so there's this style, and they also have like this bell style, which is kind of fun. Whatever does the trick for you. So 1 full ounce. And whenever you're measuring these, you want to make sure you go right up to the brim. That's how they're meant to be used. All right, so 3/4 of an ounce. Any kind of gin, any London dry gin. Today I'm using this Broker's. So 3/4, and remember I said we're going to use 3/4 plus a little bit of lime juice to make this the full ounce. So when I do that, I don't actually tip this out at 3/4 mark. I leave it aside and I top it off with my lime juice which I squeezed already into little containers. And I top it off to get my full ounce. So I know that's much easier to measure, just something small like a 1/4 ounce. So get it nice and crested into the tin. Next up, we're going to do the grape juice, 3/4 ounce. If you don't have the lime juice and you only wanted to squeeze one fruit, no problem. Go right ahead. That's all right. All right. So those of you who want to do the egg white, take a whole egg, have a little cup or something like that nearby to catch it. And what I do, keep this nearby for the yolk and the shell to go into. And the egg white is going to be built right on top of your shaker inside what you already have in there. And the reason we don't start with the egg white in the beginning is that if you put egg white with acid, such as these citruses, the citrus juices, for too long, it will start to coagulate that egg, and that will give you a texture you don't really want. So we've built all the things we need in here. This is the last thing we need to go in, and then we'll just put our shaker top on and give it a good shake along. Oh, we need our cinnamon simple syrup. So it's not the last thing. So let's do that first. Cinnamon syrup, we need about a 1/2 ounce, okay? And then we'll go back to our egg white. So those of you who don't want the egg white, make sure you get your syrup in, because that's going to give us those tiki vibes with all of the cinnamon that's been steeped in there. And you can do that with other spices as well. You could do a nutmeg or mace or any kind of winter spices, I like to call them. So be careful not to tip in the whole egg, just the white. Go back and forth. Remove the shell and the yolk aside. Give your hands a wipe. And I like to mention this, whenever you're making the cocktail and you're about to shake it, have a towel nearby and give it a good wiping on the outside, because if you have condensation building up around here, or if you don't have a nice tight seal, make sure you take an extra second to make sure that's a tight seal. And I put my finger on top and hand on the bottom, because if this thing comes open near your head, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to have a cocktail. So the shaking motion, you can do all sorts of different kinds. I like to just instruct to go like from an ear to shoulder kind of a motion and back and forth, nice hard shake. Should be nice and frosty. You can draw a line on your cocktail, then you should be, we can't see it on the camera, but it's drawing a line here. Make sure you can see it very frosty, and it's almost too hard to hold. It's so cold. Then grab your glass. I like to build this one into sort of like a martini style glass.
It'll be a.
Everybody all right? Give it one more quick shake. All right. Mine has a little filter on the top, so you remove that. And I'll hold it up to the camera so you can see the pour. It'll be nice and frothy from that egg white. You'll get some of the froth if you are working with without the egg white, but I feel that that gives you an excellent froth with the egg white. Now, the drink is perfect just like this. And if you notice, you'll have the froth settle at the top, and notice little tiny dots on top. They're shards of ice. That to me is like ensuring you did a nice hard shake. So you can leave it just at that, have a sip, or these are little Lusciardo cherries for an added little bit of luxury. Skewer a couple of those cherries, and it stays with that sort of pinky theme. That looks pretty good. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
How'd you do?
Cheers.
Tastes like tea.
Does it taste as good as it looks?
I like mine. How'd you guys do?
It's delicious, man.
Good. Anybody use any fun, different versions of Jamaican rum that you'd like to share?
I did get the Appleton today, but I got a 5-year-old Dominican rum. So I'm just going to see if I'm going to do a little taste of difference, see if there's any difference. So.
That's a great point. Not to sound like a lush, but sometimes if I sit down at a bar, I sort of become interested in one specific cocktail. And if you want to build a rapport, or if it seems like a good moment to talk to a bartender without, having them running around crazy busy, you could say, hey, would you mind, or would you suggest doing the same cocktail with a different version of rum? And it kind of just lets you see that cocktail built the same way, but one little tweak. And then you sort of build an appreciation for the actual spirit. Even though it's not separate in the cocktail, you can start to see it, which ones are chosen and why they're chosen. Kind of fun. Gimlet is the one that people do that a lot with. I've seen that. People will just have it a couple different ways. Or daiquiri, that's my favorite one. I like to do a daiquiri with different rums. And the gin itself, you could talk about if anybody has one that they want to share what they have, or if you have any questions in general, I might be able to help.
Is there an option for, I'm just not a big fan of rum. Is there an option for
Sure.
rum in this?
It's like replacement for rum, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably build a different drink altogether. I guess this one, I was chasing a rum forward drink because of the tiki. I've just recently become interested in tiki in the last couple of years. But you could stick with this cocktail and stick to, the freshness of the lime and the grapefruit. I mean, a spirit that calls for, in my mind, for those types of flavor profiles, I would say is tequila. And you could do the same thing. You could start with just a Blanco, and then maybe even change to the aged ones as well. I'm not sure what you prefer, but vodka obviously can slip in there and you wouldn't notice much at all, just to give some alcohol to the cocktail other than gin. If you wanted, you could do 100% gin and stick to that. Some people don't like gin because of the botanicals. You could totally swap it out.
Good, thank you.
Absolutely.
How long will the
Was somebody trying to ask a question?
Yeah.
I think that.
How long will the simple syrup stay in the fridge? We'll keep
The cinnamon simple syrup, I would say easy 10 days, no problem. If it stays cold. And when I make it, I actually keep the, I don't strain it. I just keep all the sticks in there. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. I keep my cinnamon sticks in there and it just intensifies even more. It's kind of fun. I mean, the cinnamon is the only thing that costs money here, not the water and not the sugar. So I figured I'd get the money's worth out of it. And I would guess it's closer to 2 weeks or so, but usually you can go through it before it goes bad. It takes a while for something like that to go bad.
And you use it in your coffee, correct, Mike?
Yeah, I like to make an iced coffee. I'll do a shaken iced coffee. I'll have hot coffee in the morning, and then the afternoon, I may just reach out and see what's left over, and I have coffee sitting around usually. So you could just make a afternoon cocktail with just coffee and simple syrup and ice. Good usage. I made the girls mocktails. I have 2 daughters, and I had mocktails before the class started. I gave them a little simple syrup in there too.
That's a great idea, although I would have a hard time with a good afternoon coffee and mixed with a cocktail, but I love the principle behind it. Yeah.
I'm only pushing a little bit of drugs here. I'm not going to go all over.
I just had the most wonderful cosmopolitan last night out to dinner, and the bartender was telling us that there are all different kinds of ways to make that as well. So
yeah,
it's amazing.
Absolutely.
The variety in all these kind of mixed cocktails.
Yeah, they say if you learn, 5 or I forget, there's a magic number, 5 or 7 cocktails, you learn them really well. They all have derivatives and you pretty much know as much as you need behind a bar, which I'm not there yet, but I sure like trying. I enjoy it. And for me, I like to get the history backwards. Once I know a cocktail, now I dive into sort of the history. It's a little bit more interesting that way for me.
Yeah. Make your cocktail that you just made. That cocktail, can you make it hot in winter? I mean,
well, some version of it. You'd think that you'd lose some of the freshness with juice. That's the only thing. A base of it could be somehow. I could definitely see, it'd be sort of a glorified, right? Something like that would work. Maybe using the zest. So whenever I juice, I will peel off. I'll use a peeler and I save all the zest of my citrus. So maybe steeping those in the tea, you could get there with the grapefruit zest in a tea and then pour a little floater of said whiskey or whatever you want, but why not Jamaican rum, right?
Right.
Try it.
It sounds good, yeah.
Yeah, a little island toddy, why not? Someone in Jamaica likes that.
What is the difference between Bacardi and rum anyway? Is that the same thing? Bacardi rum and is rum Bacardi? Is that just a brand?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a basic, straightforward rum. I don't know the exact definition what it needs to be to become rum, but once you get into the sugar cane and the aging and the fermenting, that whole process is where you branch off into many different kinds. So there's Guyana, there's Haiti, there's Panamanian style rums. They all have their own version of different ways of distilling the sugarcane products. And the way they use the sugarcane, they make different products out of it. And some of them have sugarcane syrup, some of them use molasses. So it gets really interesting, which is why you have different colors. Some are white, some are deep colors, like what's the black seal rum, the Bermuda style rum for like a dark and stormy.
When I went to Puerto Rico, there was we did a tour, and we didn't end up going to the Bacardi facility there, but apparently they do it, so everybody in Puerto Rico drinks Bacardi because that's local there. It's kind of interesting. Yeah.
I like the Barrilito, the Ron Barrilitos. They're very well known for that as well.
Oh yeah.
That's a very good rum. Yeah, it's a sipping rum, I think.
Yeah, I'm a little bit like Tim. I'm not a huge rum fan, but your drink made it look
good. One or two tiki parties and you'll be in.
Right. True.
Like that one.
So if there are no other questions about this cocktail, I think we may introduce the next one, Mike. So for those who maybe just have joined us and weren't here for the beginning of the first cocktail, these are meant to be interactive. So we want you to make the cocktail along with us, to ask questions, and to certainly, whether it's about the cocktail we're making currently or anything else that you might want to know about the spirits or just in general mixology. So Mike, I'll turn it over to you to introduce our spicy margarita.
All right. Well, everybody is probably going to scramble to do what I just did. Just rinse out your shaker if you're going to make a drink after the first one. Good to see everyone. I'm Mike in Boston. I'm glad you're joining. And we made a cocktail that was focused on grapefruit and rum. Now we're going to switch gears and go over to one that you've heard of before, Margarita. So this is one that I've been working on just because everybody seems to like a margarita at some point in time. It's one that you can put together pretty simply without a lot of prep, and that tends to be popular with most people. You don't want to do too much work in advance. So I want to give you a little bit of a story, a little fun background of how the margarita came about. I have a little bit of notes on this, and there's a hotel in Puebla, Mexico, actually. It's called the Garcia Crespo, and there was a man named Danny Negrete, and he worked at this hotel, and I think he was the manager here, and they credited him with developing the first margarita back in 1936, and he developed this drink for his then girlfriend, and she really liked salt in her drinks. So this is why we became sort of accustomed to seeing salt on the rim of cocktail glass for a margarita. So the next time you're asked if you want salt or not, you just say with or without Margarita, and that was her name. So he named the cocktail after Margarita. So I like a spicy margarita. I also like the smokiness of mezcal. So we'll walk through the ingredients here. If you don't want to play along with parts of this, no problem. If you don't like the heat, the chilies, just eliminate that. No change necessary. If you don't like things that are inherently smoky, so for me, that is why I like this. This is mezcal from Oaxaca, which is where I think most of the highest rated mezcal in the world is all from Oaxaca, Mexico. And this is the former George Clooney's line. I like to make a little joke that once he sold this, his kids did all right. They got into the schools they needed to. So I'm using both the Casamigos mezcal as well as his Blanco tequila. So if you don't like the smoke, because of the amounts in our recipe, I think we said 2 ounces of the Blanco and then 1 ounce of the mezcal. It's a hefty pour in comparison. We also have some citrus and some syrup. But if you don't like the mezcal, you can either cut it down to 1/2 of an ounce and then give that extra half to the Blanco. You can do 2.5 and just 1/2 of mezcal, or you can just do 3 ounces of straight Blanco tequila. It's up to you. We're going to go with 2 ounces and 1 ounce. And the other ingredients we have is juice of an orange, 1/2 of an orange, I should say. That's about 1 ounce to 1.5 ounces. It really just depends on what citrus you have. This is a rough recipe that it does change with your citrus, this is a very me recipe. I do food first, cocktails second. So there is some leniency with recipes in general. This is a starting point. So a juice of 1/2 an orange, juice of a whole lime, it is roughly about 1 ounce to 1.5 ounces of either fruit. I like to use a little bit of jalapeno or serranos. Now I've noticed this year that I'm going to use jalapenos. I've noticed that jalapenos are hit and miss lately. Some of them are hot, some of them are not. So what I do is before I even start, I take a slice and just cut a couple thin slices. And what I'll do is I'll just taste it just to see, am I working with a spicy one or is this like a mild one? So you can make your own assessment. See, okay, that's nice. That's a nice level. Or maybe I need 3 times as much as what I normally do. So the first thing I do is I cut a couple slices of the jalapeno and just see where you're at. Excuse me. So the other part that we have in this cocktail is 1 ounce of regular simple syrup. So, I mean, you can go right ahead and use cinnamon simple syrup if you have that from the other cocktail. I don't necessarily want cinnamon with all of this, but if that appeals to you, go ahead and try it. So let's see, our mixing tin. I'm working with a mixing tin like this, a little cocktail shaker. I like to mention this to everybody. Some people will hear this again. When you're working with a mixing tin, do take care to make sure it's dry. On the edges, if it's wet and it slips open when you're shaking a cocktail, it makes a mess, not fun. Just keep a towel around. I usually have it right over my shoulder, so I know where it is all the time. All right, so into our cocktail shaker, I'm gonna go 4 or 5 cubes of ice, and then locate your spirits. We're gonna do 2 ounces of Blanco tequila. 2 ounce mark, make sure you fill all the way to the top. Excuse me. Into your tin. If you want to go the full ride of smokiness, we're going to do 1 ounce, so the smaller side, 1 ounce of mezcal. Feel free to alter that to your taste. All right. Throw in some slices of jalapeno. I like spicy. I'm going to go 4 or 5 slices at least. All right. Clear a little space. All right. So decide on which sweetener you want to use. I'm going to use a straight up simple syrup, 1 ounce. Now we need some citrus. Excuse me. All right, orange juice. Freshly squeezed orange juice. Let's use about 1 ounce. I have that done in advance. And about the same of lime. You can always alter that if you wanted to use a different citrus. I've tried it with blood orange. I've done it with lemon. All different combos can be fun. So don't be limited to just the recipe. If you have a full, excuse me, if you have a lime around, we're going to use that for a garnish as well. So keep that nearby. Cover up your cocktail shaker. Give it another wipe. Make sure it's on tight as well as the top. All right, so make sure nice and tight, finger on top, hand on the bottom, and I like to go from my ear to my shoulder, a nice hard shake. Okay, that should be nice and frosty on the outside. It should be really cold in your hand. All right, locate a cocktail glass. You can go any glass you like here, honestly. I have a frosted glass like so. So what you want to do here is have a lime nearby. And what we're going to do is cut 1 wheel, which is basically just a circle, cross cut of the thin slice of the lemon. Keep that for a garnish. Now with this guy, I usually cut this in half. So it looks cross section like so. And what you can do now that you have your little wedge in hand, the shape doesn't matter, but just take a wedge and you use this on the rim of the glass, go all the way around. So you're giving yourself a bit of aromatics. You're also making this cocktail glass wet on the top. Now that is going to go into what I hope everybody has is a salt mixture. If you don't have it, it's a spice mixture. If you have just kosher salt, pour some on a plate, that's fine. I have a mixture here of some chili and we have a couple different kinds of paprika. There's a little smoked. Take your spice mix and put it on a plate or in a little dish, and the wet glass goes directly into that. Press it in, spin it around, and it gives you a nice crust and salt rim. So you have that, and you can have that for each sip, and it changes the drink. Give your cocktail one quick shake, and then pour into the glass. Some people like to just open it up and pour out all the ice, or you can strain it. Your choice. It honestly depends how quickly you're going to drink that. If you're going to sip it, you might want to put a nice ice cube in top. You're ready to go here. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
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 Smoky, spicy, zesty. How's that?
Spicy.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Hot. Yeah, I like the smoke on it.
I don't think I've ever
Drop.
seen spice mixed in with the salt on the rim. That's a nice touch.
Thank you. Yeah, we're just trying to change it up a little bit. Otherwise, Margarita has the rights here. She owns that drink. Oh, drop your lemon wheel in there. We forgot our garnish. And I think the Blanco tequila is the best way to go here. Any of the aged tequilas probably isn't appreciated fully with all those other flavors, in my opinion. But if you like it, give it a shot. Anybody experiment with other citrus than what we chose? Or a really spicy pepper? I almost got a habanero just to kick it up a notch, but I kind of wimped out.
We instead of a fresh jalapeno, we pickled jalapenos from our harvest last summer, so that they got a little bit more heat and a little bit more tang.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, I mean, olives are common. Why not a pickled vegetable in general? Pickled jalapeno is great. Love that. The Adam Margarita.
Trademark.
Yep. Gotta be quick. Well, thanks for letting me mix for you guys and expose a couple of these fun cocktails.
Sure. Yeah, while we have you, are there any like food pairing suggestions with these just off the top of your head that we should that goes well with these profiles?
I mean, I'm not gonna, reinvent a wheel here, but I love just sitting around with freshly fried chips. I did this last weekend with my brother for his birthday. Freshly fried chips, a big bowl of fresh guacamole and margaritas. Oh man, we did it with he asked for a different cocktail, but I would go margaritas 100% with this. I think that's a match made in heaven for sure. But anytime you're having any of the slow braised meats and shredded into a taco or something like that, I love that. I like pork. It calls for it. All the citrus, it's beautiful. The tequila keeps the party going. The citrus makes it clean up.
Is there anything you would pair with the pamplemousse, Mike?
The pamplemousse, it's an elegant one. You can almost see that as a post-dinner drink, like a dessert cocktail almost, right? That's where I would
Absolutely
go with it.
Yeah, I felt fancy drinking that one. No, for sure.
That's what we're looking for. We're looking for men admitting how fancy we look with a cocktail glass in our hand.
Yeah, pinkies up. Let's do it.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it could be a start off that I could see that one being a start off the evening with maybe some shellfish crudo or something elegant like that, like a fish or a shellfish crudo, scallops, fluke, something like that would be great. Yeah, that's what reaches to me first. Anybody have a preference in the cocktails?
No, I don't think I have a preference, but it's just, yeah, it's like a mood change going from one to the other. It's, yeah, that's a fun mood shift.
Yeah. We jumped into a different room here with
yeah,
but everyone went with us. I really wanted Wayne to jump out and say, I did it too.
Oh, Mike, I know a lot of thought went into the Appleton rum for the Pamplemoose. Do you want to share a little bit about why you like that particular rum?
Yeah, for anyone who didn't really catch any of that in the first class, this is an authentic Jamaican rum, Appleton Estate. Put it up here again. I really like this one. This one happens to be a 12-year age. It's kind of a cool Jamaican rum in that it's filtered. It's a natural filtering process done with the limestone. The water is filtered with limestone that's used for the distilling process. That wasn't too clear. I like the fact that it's giving, I feel like there's flavor profile that must come from that, or it must come from the proprietary yeast that they use in its made from the sugarcane that they use in this process. I really like just the spirit on its own, I think is so cocktail ready, and I think it's really perfect for the tiki world. Just a little bit of lime, and this is almost a cocktail on its own. I think it's really beautiful. There's all different kinds of rums. There's something about the Jamaican rums that I think is specifically cool for tiki drinks. That's just my preference, but this one has become a favorite. It's always on the shelf. I like that. It's getting low. We've done a couple classes with this.
It has become a house favorite.
Yeah, Jackie and I have made this more than once. Full disclosure.
Well, I know we only have a few minutes left. Are there any final questions about either of the cocktails or just anything more generally?
Yeah, I have a question. I may have missed this, but on the jalapenos, do you muddle those or do you just stick those in the actual decanter? Let you shake. Yeah, thank you.
No, good question. Yeah, that could have been more clarified by me. If you are going to do, if you're going to do this cocktail in the shaker itself, I would say you don't need to muddle because it's getting agitated as you're doing a hard shake up against the ice. But if you're going to do this as a mixed cocktail rather than shaken, you might want to muddle it. So either with a wooden spoon or an actual muddler, just to expose you're basically like breaking the cells of the pepper to expose it and infuse it. It's like a quick infusion. It's really what you're doing. So yes, you would muddle it only if it's not going to be hard shaken like what we did with the shaker.
Okay. Yeah. So when you muddle it and you put that in, do you add a little bit of the tequila in with it to muddle it, or do you just muddle it alone?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would probably do it just up against the ice. You could do it in the glass on its own, or in the mixing tin or whatever you're using. It could be a crystal one, that there's fancy ones. I would just make sure that when you muddle, put your hand over the top, and whatever your tool is, go ahead and move the tool, but put your hand over the top. Any of that juice or oil comes up to your face, it's not going to be pleasant.
Gosh, yeah. Right.
So so I wouldn't do too much liquid because of that purpose, because it's going to splash everywhere.
Sure.
Good point. Sort of like mojito mint. Some people like to muddle the heck out of it. I don't think it's necessary. A couple muddles, and then go ahead and add your other ingredients, and I think that's going to do the trick. Because you could just leave it in rather than strain it off the top. With some of those shakers, there's a little porous strainer up top. Maybe just take the whole cap off and just dump it in.
Sure. Okay.
Leave it in the drink. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yep. Okay. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good question. Thanks, Angela.
All right, everyone, our time in the Mixology room is unfortunately coming to an end, but my sincere thanks to Mike, Jackie. Thank you so much. These are great stuff. Jackie, would you just give a quick plug to where we can see more?
Absolutely. As I think Adam put in the message, the menu will be sent out and the method for both of the cocktails. But certainly, if you want to learn more about Sous Chef, you can certainly go to souschef.kitchen. But thank you very much for joining Mike and I tonight. It truly is a privilege to be here.
Thanks everybody. Thank you.